So before we get into the breakdown of this fight, just keep in mind that Mason is a southpaw, Bell is an orthodox fighter, so there is always the possibility of a head clash that could change the direction of this fight. Now with that out of the way, two things I do want to note. Number one, it is a title defense for the WBO World Lightweight belt that Mason currently holds. Number two, it is taking place in Cleveland, Ohio, where Mason grew up and trains in. Now, Bell is also from Ohio, but he's from Toledo, which I believe is only a couple of hours away, but I'm sure he'll still have his supporters in the building. Now, I don't believe this is necessarily going to be an easy fight for Mason, at least in the earlier rounds. Albert Bell, at 33 years old, is a seasoned vet. This is his 30th pro fight. However, it is his first 12-round fight and Mason's second. Bell hasn't exactly faced any top-tier competition in the past, but he is a slick fighter, keeps a good control of distance, sharp jab, good variation of punches, not scared to let his hands go whenever he does decide to step into the pocket, but he's also not there to make it a brawl. One thing that does concern me about Bell defensively that I believe Mason might be able to take advantage of is the fact Bell tends to move around with his hands down. He relies more on his footwork, head movement, and that control of distance to evade his opponent's counters, which sometimes can leave openings up top. Another thing to keep in mind with this being Bell's first 12-round fight at 33 years old and also not really having been in the ring with high-level competition, he hasn't exactly been brought into deep waters and had to fight his way through them yet, so there's still some questions that could be answered here, especially in the later rounds. Now, Mason is obviously on his way to becoming a superstar in the sport of boxing. There's not really too much to criticize about him. He's sharp, powerful, quick, but he's also not without his defensive flaws. It's really not anything specifically that stands out, but he is susceptible to getting caught with random shots with his hands down. And even though he is only 22 years old, he has fought the better competition, most notably his fight against Sam Noakes last November, where Noakes attempted to drown Mason, keep him under pressure for 12 rounds, but Mason was able to brawl it out with him to a unanimous decision. So even at this point in his young career, we have already seen Mason's jaw and gas tank tested, and there were no apparent issues. Now, with the prediction of how I believe this fight is going to end, I mean, to be honest, I don't really see a clear path to victory for Bell here. There's nothing that really gives him an advantage over Mason. He is a few inches taller. However, Mason does have a slight 1 inch longer reach. Bell might have some vet tactics up his sleeve. I do believe they have sparred each other in the past, so he might be a little more prepared than Mason's previous opponents. But when it boils down to it, the power is definitely in Mason's favor, so I wouldn't expect Bell to try to keep this fight too much on the inside. And on the other hand, if he tries to play too elusive, I could even see Mason cutting the ring off, making it uncomfortable for Bell, and really testing those questionable factors like his chin and gas tank in the later rounds. Now, for the bettors, the safest play is definitely Mason on the money line, but obviously there's not much value there, so maybe once props open up, you could take the over. You might also want to consider Mason by decision. However, keep in mind if Bell does, for whatever reason, decide to try to play aggressive and let his ego dictate his actions, there is also the possibility of Mason by stoppage or KO. And with that said, if this breakdown and prediction has been helpful or entertained you in any way, please like and subscribe or even leave a comment. As you see, I'm building this channel from the ground up, inside out boxing, always respect the unknown, and I'm out.